You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield-Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 141 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
It is a fantastic time of year if you don't even know or even want to look out the window because, well, spring isn't fully here as of yet. We've got football. We've got NCAA men's basketball. We've got hockey. And, of course, we've got the WBC ready and rolling right now. I mean, you've got sports like crazy. Time is irrelevant in itself. Happy to be here as always, especially after being gone last week, too.
That's true. We were gone last week, but we are back on this week. And we actually were planning on having a show last, but things happened and whatnot. But during that time, we did an interview. And people have been waiting on it, and I think this deserves a lot of attention. And the zoners have been tuning in, been waiting for it, and it's finally here. Our 2022 Most Absurd Statement winner has finally joined us. So without further ado, here's the drum roll. Just give it a sec. Boom! Jason Schmitz is on the show tonight. Yes. You know, when you say that Mitch Trubisky is better than Kirk Cousins, that just tells you you just don't know Kirk. You know, you don't know. And we had a chat about that with my cousin. It's Jason, my cousin. We go bowling. You know, that's inside joke. But with that being said, we talked a little bit about that. And it was about 15 minutes or so, just kind of trying to pick his brain on why he made that statement. And he'll explain why. Don't get me wrong. He's going to explain why here. But we had a fantastic time, and we also talked about his Rams fandom too, and how he got it started with that and things like that. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. So let's get to some zoners here. We got some family tuning in too, so we appreciate that. Easy A says, just listening to the Madden 05 soundtrack before the show. Can't go wrong with that. Can't wait to hear from the special guest. Exactly. And he is an LA Rams fan. What do you expect, LOL? They've won Super Bowls, so
this is true.
I have to, I hate to rip on my own team, but it's true. I mean, it's just how it's supposed to be. Anyway, I say we just get right into it. So enjoy this interview with my cousin, and he's going to explain why he won Most Absurd Statements. So enjoy. All right, we are back on MinneZona Sports Live. We have a special guest. He's family. Yeah, I will say that. He's my cousin. Unfortunately, he did win Most Absurd Statement of 2022, saying that Mitch Trubisky is better than Kirk Cousins. It is a very unfortunate thing, Voldy. Very unfortunate thing. But we welcome him anyway. My cousin, Jason Schmitz. Thank you, Jason, for coming on the show. Thank you for braving it out.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you having you on. So let's just get right to it. I mean, Voldy, we might as well. What made you think? And this was on a MinneZona post, so I give you credit. You're watching, what we got and whatnot.
Of course.
Why do you think that Mitch Trubisky is better than one Kirk Cousins? Why? What are we doing here, bud?
Why?
Well, I will say that comment really came back to bite me in the butt later on. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
That's pretty fair. I'll give you guys that.
Okay.
I don't know what I was thinking. Perhaps I had too many adult beverages. I indulged maybe too much. I don't know. But I think it was just more of a hatred for Kirk Cousins, if I'm honest.
Okay. It's just the hatred of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, I can dive into it. I think Mitch Trubisky, man, 2nd overall pick in the 2017 draft. So obviously the scouts may have agreed with me on that one in a previous time, perhaps.
In previous time.
He's got a 37-27 overall record in the NFL. So he's got a winning record. Not too bad. He technically has one playoff win. Okay, cool. So let's go to Kirk Cousins.
Sure.
So, 4th round pick. Not as good as 2nd overall, right? 72-63 overall record. So about 10 games or so. Relatively the same there. Also technically has one playoff win for your Minnesota Vikings. But
that's good.
That technically counted as the Case Keenum Minneapolis Miracle, though, because I think he got hurt that game, right?
No, what happened
wasn't even on the team.
It wasn't even on the team.
For Minneapolis Miracle?
Yeah, Case yeah.
That was the Sam Bradford era, man.
Oh, that's right. That's Bradford that got hurt. My stats on the internet, I guess Wikipedia's a bad source.
Wow.
Regardless, one playoff win for each of the respective players. But I think it comes down to it is Mitchell Trubisky is a MVP winner. And clearly Nickelodeon is a great source of information and holds higher standards than ESPN. So with that is my case.
That's your case. Well, let me say this. If we are talking about this year, and you probably will agree with me on this, though, right? Is that Kirk Cousins had a far better year than Mitch Trubisky because Mitch was
definitely agree with
awful.
That until the playoffs.
Okay. I mean, they got to make the playoffs first. That's the name. I mean, if you're the Steelers,
I suppose, yes.
But let me ask you this: with everything that's been going on, though, I mean, yes, Kirk Cousins 4th round pick, right? He gets drafted by the Washington Redskins at the time. You also have a management group / owner / coaches / bad. I mean, just Washington is a mess, absolute mess, and we can agree on that, right? With Washington.
Yep.
And who does he beat out? / a lot of injury issues is RG3. He comes out. They go. They win the division one year with Kirk Cousins. They go to the playoffs. They lose to Green Bay, right? And he comes to Minnesota hoping to be that final piece that we were waiting for. So far, Kirk's been doing his job, but here's the issue. This past year, defensively atrocious, absolutely atrocious.
Yes.
And you said too, I mean, you with before the show, we talked about Green Bay absolutely destroying Minnesota at Green Bay, you know.
Yep.
But the one thing I'll add to that is they didn't do great offensively, sure. Defensively, not great all season. So, you know, it's like you can cast blame. You know, it's not always on Kirk. I feel like a lot of people always want to point the finger of why this team loses is because of Kirk. It's and we all know it's a team game, things like that. But I just don't see it, man. With Kirk Cousins and Mitch Trubisky, the comparison I feel like outweighs. Yeah, I feel like Kirk is had a far more consistent career. Kirk's never been benched, I believe. So we got that going for us too. The MVP, okay, you can have the stupid Nickelodeon thing, fine.
It counts. It counts.
It counts. You can do the slime thing, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, that's fine. But if you really want to deep dive into it, so far, the more complete career right now, you got to look at Kirk Cousins. And that's how I look at it. I'm not saying Kirk's like the next Tom Brady, the next Rodgers, AKA Frogers, as we call him here. But it is what it is. I mean, that's just kind of my spiel on it. But if you look at compare stats from year to year, I'll take Kirk 10 times out of 10. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I'm definitely in agreement with you on that. Like I said, I needed something to back up my comment. I can't come with nothing.
You know, you just stick with the MVP thing. How about that?
It counts. It counts.
It counts.
No, I think it's just I've never been a Kirk Cousins fan. And
it's fine.
He hasn't really done anything for me to prove that he is that top tier quarterback. I mean, he's been with the Vikings how long? Was it 4 or 5 years?
I think we're approaching 5, aren't we?
This will be the 5th year.
Yeah.
And what has he done for the Minnesota Vikings to drastically improve that team? I know the defense has been an issue, but dude, he's playing with the second to best wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously, Cooperkupp's number 1, clearly.
That's another debate.
He's got a solid wide receiver 2, solid wide receiver 3, good tight end, good running back. I get the whole defense thing, but Kirk's the quarterback. The quarterback is the number 1 position on any football team. And if he can't get it done year after year, I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, let's take the playoff game, for example.
Sure.
Game on the line, 4th down, and you throw a 3-yard pass. Mitch Trubisky can do that. He'd probably throw it to the wrong team. But to be fair, at least we know he can complete that. Like, what are you guys doing? I don't understand the whole Kirk Cousins phenomenon, and obviously different perspective being Vikings fans.
Granted, they had a great defense. They had Khalil Mack. They had Akeem Hicks. I mean, Roquan Smith. They had a stellar defense. Not saying that, you know, Mitch didn't have anything to do, but his best season was that season. He was 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions or something like that, which is impressive. But you wanted to see growth from that time, right? But ever since that year, it's gone significantly down, which I will say. Yep. But I'll defend Kirk on this one. The play call in that game was not the best play call. I mean, JJ's triple covered, right? Absolutely triple covered. And then Thielen, I think he was one-on-one on that play with whoever it was, but I mean, it wasn't a great route. The only option that Kirk really had, because the pass rush, I will say, it's not just defense, it's the interior O-line. And Voldy and I have gone back and forth on this too, is that interior is bad. You have a stud left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right tackle and O'Neal. So your sides are fine. It's the interior that has really been a problem ever since Kirk got here, I will say too. So I will defend him on that. Now, in that situation, I agree. You have to throw the ball past the Kirk to get the first down.
Only
That
makes
is the
sense.
only thing.
Yep.
Right. I agree. I agree with you on that. But when you got pressure coming in your face, and I mean, you really didn't have an option. You know, there are a lot of people that will rip Kirk for that. Fine. I mean, I get it. You got to throw the ball past the sticks. But I will say, I mean, it's tough when you have all those. I think it was Dexter Lawrence or something that came in on that play and almost just destroyed Kirk. But that's kind of how I'd answer that. But the phenomenon, I like Kirk in the fact that he doesn't listen to the outside noise. He goes out and plays. He's never been like injured to the point where he can't, he can't keep up with I mean, he's played almost every game, barring the COVID stuff, mind you. So, I mean, Kirk's been consistent. I've always had respect for Kirk with that. The Kirk O chains bit, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Kirk's going to win us a Super Bowl because there's a lot more work to do. But like you said, they have the offense. They just need a little bit more from the defense / add some interior O-line. So that's how I'd answer that question for you. But Voldy, anything on that?
Well, I would just like to first address the elephant in the room, and anytime that we can get Case Keenum mentioned on the show, that's a fantastic start to any interview as well. You were partly there. You had the opponent and you had the situation. It was playoffs.
Yes.
It was against the Saints, but it was when Kirk called game with Rudy in the back of the end zone in New Orleans as well. That playoff victory for the Vikings with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. The big thing with Mitch Trubisky, and his name escapes me because of the fact he's so irrelevant nowadays, can't even work his way up the depth chart with Pittsburgh nowadays as well. You go with him, or you have a guy who's probably still recovering from his head being caved in Mason Rudolph, or you've got Kenny Two Gloves and Kenny Pickett as well. Look, personally, I'm all in on Kenny Pickett right off the bat, but it's good to have an option. Very solid backup you could have in Mitch Trubisky. Number one guy, we'll see. Maybe I hear some XFL teams, or maybe even the USFL here this summer are looking for some potentials as well. So definitely a lot of capabilities with that. It worked early on in Chicago, I will say. A lot of flash in the pan, new coaching staff, new team. Really good defense as well. But then after that, Matt Nagy tried to become the next Andy Reid, I think, and just all steadily went downhill from there. And now Matt Nagy is now offensive coordinator again for Andy Reid as well. So we'll see if Mitch ever finds his way back to the starting spot as well. I don't know beyond that, but the fact that we can do everything that we can with Kirk Cousins, he can put up as many points in the games as he's want to. Throwing the ball, even getting a couple rushing scores as well. He can't play defense. That's the thing. Put up 30, 35 points a game. Can't play two ways. Doesn't work like that in the NFL. Unfortunately, not anymore as well. So the fact that people still rag on him as of late, I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's what else can the guy do besides walk on water at this point to get into the good graces of everybody? Even then, people still be like, it's fake news. It's not real. There's wires. It's all on it's all on a platform or whatever. It's not real. Thanks a lot, Kirk. But look, honestly, the comments, I didn't even remember what you even said too. The fact that I went into this whole conversation, didn't even know what you initially said. And I'm glad I get a blind reaction to it all over again with you saying that Mitch Trubisky is better than Kirk Cousins. I'm so flabbergasted at the moment. I can't even think straight. Completely irrelevant. Fake news.
Well, the thing is basically what it was is Jace put Kirk and then the greater than sign to Mitch Trubisky.
I remember it now.
You remember
it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. But that's that's our spiel. And I'm glad that you owned up to it. You thought, maybe Absolutely. I shouldn't have made that comment, but at the same time, I mean,
it was during the offseason, right? He just got traded to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
yeah,
because he was backing up in Buffalo and thought, he could find himself on a team, be a starter again.
Yep. And we talked about, I believe the video I was talking about how that wasn't a great idea, because if you have Pickett and then you have the guy that literally almost had his head taken off by Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph too, that just did. I felt like it didn't make sense, but
I still don't know how Mason Rudolph is still alive to this day after that hellacious swing by the human tank that is Myles Garrett.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, anyway, since we took care of that, so we're moving on. We're all going to move on from that. But knowing my cousin, we always have these football talks, especially when we meet up. But my cousin is a Rams fan. He's been a Rams fan pretty much all his life. He is not a Packer fan, so we appreciate that. And we rip on the Packers every time they, so I always send Jason a snap or, just we like it when the Packers lose, and messing with Rodgers as well. The one thing I got to ask you is, how did you become a Rams fan? I know I believe we did briefly talk about this at your wedding, but it was a long time ago. I don't remember too much. But how did you become a Rams fan? Just to give people a better perspective.
It's quite simplistic. I liked the animal as a kid, so I found out there was a team, and I'm like, that's legit. That's awesome. So ever since, the rest is history. And luckily, when I started watching them, it was the early days of the greatest show on turf. So right as I was starting to get into Rams football, they won a Super Bowl. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So ever since then, I stuck with them through, the bad times, the good times, and everything. The poor St. Louis days, and then just 2 years ago, winning another Super Bowl. That was pretty much one of the greatest moments of my life. So always a fan, and hopefully always will be here. This team's going to be interesting coming into next season.
Right.
Like that team's in shambles at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about problems with Vikings, let alone LA, is just a mess. But ever since I was a little kid, kind of just stuck with me.
It really did. And, I especially all the memorabilia that you have too. It's like, the greatest show on turf. Yep. Literally, there's a Marshall Faulk. You're still a big Marshall Faulk guy.
Still have it. Still have that same.
Still have it. Yep. I remember in the basement there, and especially with the Kurt Warner days, Torryholt, Isaac-Bruce. Jeez, that was a team, man. That was a lot of fun to watch them. Ricky Prohl. We just talked about him last week. He has like 2 sons. One's in the NFL, one's in the XFL for the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yep.
Speaking of which, we're official Battlehawks fans with the XFL since the Battlehawks have officially. Ka is the law. So let me ask you, since unfortunately you have the Rams go to LA. Yep. But they were from St. Louis. Is that your team now with XFL? With the
you know what it is? I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
Let's go.
There we go.
Because I also like AJ McCarron.
Yeah,
I've actually really liked AJ McCarron in the past, and I'm like, wait a minute. I was watching the first game. I'm like, is that AJ McCarron? He sure is. So I'm jumping on the bandwagon with you.
Love it.
This is crazy. We have now this cult of Battlehawks fans, which is just amazing now. But they did. We're trying to get free tickets, and obviously like that. So we'll try to get that and head down to St. Louis. But
totally.
The last thing I'll ask, then I'm going to send it over to Voldy for some rapid fire.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot. You live in Green Bay. The amount of crap that you probably get for not being a Packers fan, being born in Wisconsin and whatnot. Just how are these fans like? From I live in Minnesota. I know Packers fan, I just from what you tell me and whatnot with these fans. Just how insufferable are some of these fans in Wisconsin? Please tell us.
It is almost indescribable at times, and that's not an exaggeration. Green Bay Packers football, to their credit, is life. I personally don't get it. When I want to go to a football game, I don't want to pay $120 to sit in bleachers like I'm at a high school game, but that's just me. But
just a dump.
It is just an absolute different breed. I give them credit for being dedicated sports fans, but like these people, man, if they lose a game the next like week for them, they are all depressed. Like you don't even want to talk to them. It's absolutely insane.
Fire LaFleur, all that.
Yeah, you know, it's like they're bipolar at times, man. Like they'll have a good stretch of the season, like the tail end of the season this past season, everyone was getting rowdy for a playoff push and we're gonna win the Super Bowl. That's what they were doing, and because they beat your Vikings, because Kirk Cousins can't win in Lambeau, that was a possibility for him until my former boy Jared Goff shut down that.
Yeah.
So they're just a different breed. 2 seasons ago, the Rams Super Bowl year, I was at Lambeau during that Rams game when they lost.
Yeah.
I had some guy talking trash to me. He was like, "Hey man, you know, Rams are terrible," whatever it was. I said, "Yeah, why don't you talk to me when the Packers actually win a playoff game?" And he got all frustrated with that. Exactly. And he got all upset with me and started swearing at me. I wish I got that dude's number so I can text him after the Super Bowl when the Rams won that year. But I'll tell you what, man, I do give them credit where credit's due for being dedicated fans, but they are absolutely nuts.
Competence too with a lot of these fans, especially for some of our zoners, aka Coom, aka Mets, but that's a whole different story. We'll get to that at a later time. So we do have some Packer fans that tune into the show, and obviously
I'm sorry that I probably offended them.
No, it is like we say, we get back at them all the time, so it's totally fine with us. But yeah, that's just how I'm glad I don't live in Wisconsin, seeing all that green and gold, especially when I'm going to visit or things like that. I'm always like, oh, I just can't get all that just disgusting crap. I mean, we went to a Rams Packers game at Lambeau, which was a really cool. I will say it was a really cool experience. Don't get me wrong, but I was a Rams fan that day. Let's be honest. Of course. But I didn't wear any NFL. I didn't wear any Vikings stuff because obviously I would probably be attacked or something like that. But yeah, they're freaking nuts. I mean, it's just how it is. So, but anyway, I'm going to send it over to Voldy for some rapid fire.
So at least for a little bit, I had a little bit of maybe some help mentally when coming up some rapid fire questions for our Rams fan here, because I've got a coworker that is a Rams fan as well, and I don't know why he is, but he just is. So a lot of these questions going to be geared towards your Rams fandom, if you will, your Rams ramdom, if you will, here with some rapid fire. So preference, St. Louis or the LA Rams?
LA, man, a bigger market, cooler market. You know, St. Louis was dying at them, man. At the tail end of there, people weren't showing up to games. I mean, they still aren't in LA, let's be fair. However, that big market attracts big names, and those big names win us championships.
This is very, very true. Maybe already have an answer to this question, but I'm going to freestyle a little bit. You get one running back. Who do you choose? Do you choose marshallfaulk, Steven Jackson, or prime Todd Gurley?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with marshallfaulk, though. That dude can do it all.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with marshallfaulk. Steven Jackson, I mean, that dude was a beast all on his own.
Yeah, you loved Steven Jackson.
I did. It's a tough question. I love all three of them, if I'm honest, but pretty much Marshall.
Steven Jackson, former Patriot too, by the way. Just quick shout out to that as well. Better wide receiver duo, isaacbruce, torryholt, or cooperkupp and OBJ?
I gotta go with Bruce and Holt, man. It's the greatest show on turf.
Yeah,
those guys did it for how many years? I mean, you saw Beckham and Kupp do it for just a little bit of time there in the regular season. In the playoffs, they did awesome, but no, I gotta go long term.
Who do you think would be the better complementary piece to Cooperkupp nowadays?
Definitely not Allen Robinson. I wanted OBJ back, and I still honestly think if he came back to the team, I think that would help out immensely.
Yeah, I'm sure it certainly would, especially after the year that they had this year. Yeah. Better overall body of work for the LA Rams when they were in the Coliseum or at SoFi?
Coliseum's got that history, but I got to go with SoFi. That thing is amazing. There's no place like it.
I'm assuming you've been to SoFi already?
I wish I could say yes, but it was supposed to be this past year, but then we had our child. So I think we'll try to make the journey hopefully this upcoming season, if not in a couple years or so.
All right. Worst Rams uniform when they initially came back to LA and they're playing in the Coliseum, or those current bone color uniforms that they have?
Dude, I don't know what they were doing when they came back. They had like a white helmet, like a golden and white or golden blue jersey, white pants. It made no sense in terms of a color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the bone.
Yeah,
I like those, but
mm-hmm.
Their first colors when they came back to LA absolutely made no sense.
They just didn't even really try this. Like, oh, let's go throwback helmet and just the new the away Rams uniforms. That's our new home uniform, I guess. They just didn't even try. They just didn't try all that much. This one may be a tough one. Dickvermeil or Sean McVay?
Oh man. That's like splitting hairs right there. Both great coaches. I want to say probably Dickvermeil, and the only reason I'm going with that is because McVay, I don't know what his deal is with teetering of retirement already. Yeah. He's like 35 or something like that. Dickvermeil, he was just an old school kind of guy, and I can appreciate that, so I'll probably go with him on that one.
Dickvermeil looks like some days he looks like he still wants to coach a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
He's talking about retirement, and he's not even 40 yet. He probably could. Last one. Record for the LA Rams in 2023.
I want to say optimistic, man. I just don't know. I would put probably a solid 10-7 on there.
All right. They win the division this year?
No, I think 49ers unfortunately have that for the next couple years at least, but hopefully we'll just get by with a winning record and maybe a wild card appearance. Who knows?
All right. That's all I got for rapid fire.
Well, just to add on to that too, with the extra wild card spot, I think that's definitely possible. Yep. I mean, question is, what do you do with good old Matt Stafford? That's the one question you have. And then, like, I mean, what do you do with that? Then you have not only you mentioned with Sean McVay, but Aaron Donald, like, he's going to, and then he's like, maybe I'm not going to retire. Like, it's just like, what is going on? I mean, I mean, the state of the Rams right now. I mean, how are you looking at this right now, Jason?
It's a mess. I mean, you got Stafford who can't stay healthy, and he's taking up a huge part of the cap. You got Donald wavering on a retirement, which is understandable. The dude's done it all. Like, I don't blame him for a second.
Right.
You got a coach who may or may not want to coach the team next year. We'll just see how that goes. You have Jalenramsey, who is on the verge of getting traded. You have Bobby Wagner that just got released. Like, you don't have any draft picks. You don't have any cap. So I don't know. It's a clear kind of rebuild quasi. We still have enough talent to compete. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And especially, gosh, I can't believe it's already March on Wednesday, but with free agency coming up, a lot of trades that I think are going to happen. I don't know if like we've said, I don't think the Rams will be trading with the Bears, because apparently the Bears want to possibly trade that first pick. I mean, you'd have to give up an arm and a leg to get off the first spot, or, if you're the Rams, unless you want to give out, give them Stafford or something like that, or, escape that cap hit. But
with Baker, man, Baker Mayfield still.
That's right. That's good.
God, that's right.
Oh. I almost forgot about that. I'm not going to lie. I'm glad you brought that up, because Baker, I mean, McVay, I think, has done a really good job with Baker, especially after that Las Vegas game. But Las Vegas is kind of a mess too. So, it is what it is. But I got to give credit where credit's due. He literally got there, was it 2-3 days before or something like that, and plays in the Thursday night game and wins.
Let's go out and ball.
I got to give him credit. I really have to give him credit for that. So, I mean,
by far, best moment of last season was that game. Meaningless game, but for sure, best game of the year last year.
Yeah.
Out of a bad season.
Yep.
Yep. You got that going. So, but anyway, that'll do it, I think, with our interview here. So, Jason, thanks for coming on. My guy, my cousin. We can forgive you a little bit. with the Trubisky thing, but just the titch. But what we can appreciate is the MinneZona sweatshirt that you got there. Oh, I mean, you wear that
Fantastic.
a lot? You wear that a lot?
I actually do. Between that and the other T-shirt that I got,
Nice.
good high quality stuff you guys got here.
You know it. Hey, 5 out of 5 stars too. So we got more. We got more stuff if you want it. So we'll be talking and whatnot. So we appreciate your time, and we'll be talking to you soon, my guy.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys both for having me on.
All right, there you have it. Our interview with my cousin Jason Schmitz, and
yes, sir.
Just a couple of things, Voldy, and as we were watching this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When we had an interview with Coach Payne, there was the Carlos Correa thing, and he got traded he signed with he was with the Giants, then he wasn't with the Giants. He was with the Mets, then he wasn't with the Mets, and then he went to the Twins. Mm-hmm. We talked about before the interview. Watch Jalenramsey be traded before or after this interview's done.
Right.
I mean, it's just we just thought that was going to happen, but apparently not. Thank goodness. But,
had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Had 2 weeks and still nothing. So I don't know what that means for Jalenramsey.
Free agency's coming up next week, so
that it is.
Jason will probably be watching that a lot as well as us, but we appreciate his time. Unfortunately, the zoners picked him. Most absurd statement. So I can't. That's out of my control. I mean, that's out of my control. But at the same time, we appreciate him coming on, talking about the absurd statement / some Rams stuff, some football, and he'll pop up again. I know it. It'll be fun. So, but with that being said, we're gonna go right into Tater Tot Hot Take. We got a lot to talk about, especially with our Minnesota Vikings here. A big. I wouldn't say it's surprising, but at the same time, it still hurts.
Yeah.
Erickendricks, we'll get to that. And then the Wild made some deals. A lot of big deals these past couple days with the trade deadline and whatnot. So we're going to get into that. And then I have one little added tidbit after the EK thing, because I think this needs to be chatted about for a second too. So, but anyway, let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Alrighty, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take, and we start off tonight on a little bit of a, it's tough. It's tough. We kind of knew it was coming, but at the same time, it still hurts. The Minnesota Vikings a couple days ago released Erickendricks, our guy. For one, yeah, it sucks. I know it's him.
It does.
I know it does. It sucks.
But
it doesn't surprise me just because there were a lot of question marks on how he played this past year. Granted, he had a lot of nice plays, and he always will be. He'll be in the Ring of Honor for Minnesota Vikings football. There's no doubt about it. But I also saw some regression, and there was a lot of his play. It seems like he wasn't as fast as he used to be, or was it the scheme? Was it this? We don't know. But the cap hit. I mean, the Vikings are still over the cap, even with this release, and you save $9 million, which helps. But I can't discount the fact of how well he played for this Minnesota Vikings team for all these years. He went through the Zim era, and he was fantastic, and he led the team in tackles almost every year. And was rarely injured. He didn't have a lot of injuries, and he worked his tail off, and he was a leader on that defense for years. And not only that, but also in the community. Erickendricks was off the field was fantastic, especially kind of with the foundations that he has with his wife, and it's a bummer, but I understand the business decision to do it. I don't think it's fully on him that they released him. But I also think maybe it was a little bit of, the scheme didn't fit for Eric. And I think there's going – no, you know what? I know there's going to be a team that's going to be able to get him on a team.
Oh, for sure.
He's going to start, and I think he's going to flourish. I just hope it's not in the division / in the NFC. You can stay in the NFC. We'll go with it. But thank you to Erickendricks. That's all I really have to say. So, Voldy, what do you got about our good guy Erickendricks?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was a cornerstone of the defense through a number of different regimes, and obviously with Zimmer going into obviously a new team, new front office as well. We saw it coming, but obviously we didn't want to believe. And you take a look at the salary cap, and there's going to be some help in that area. It comes down to obviously whether the two sides, the front office and Erickendricks, were going to sit down and maybe either come to some sort of agreement, whether it was going to be a pay cut or if it was going to be him getting released. And I think the front office had way too much respect for Erickendricks to ask for a pay cut. And you know what? Some other team is going to need his services, are going to want his services. He's going to get money regardless wherever it is, either as a kind of a situation where he can be a coach on the field while still performing at a high level, or he can be a guy that'll go out there and be a cornerstone of a defense to where he could. I pray for all goodness that he gets himself a Super Bowl before his career is all over, because that's a guy that definitely deserves it, especially with leading the Vikings defense for these number of years and still made plays, of course, even in last year as well for the Vikings too. But, I think that the Vikings with this front office after year number 1 and obviously the new coaching staff too, there's going to be some changeover. Another defensive coordinator going to be coming in, obviously with Brian Flores. You will love to see that combination of, Flores and Kendricks, to how that was going to gel together with a couple of, linebacking, greats as themselves. Obviously Flores as a coach, while Kendricks as a player himself, how that was going to gel together. Unfortunately, it looks like we won't be able to get that to come through for the Vikings, but it hurts ultimately, but at the same time we saw it coming. I think it's going to be I think hopefully both sides are going to be happy about it at the end of the day. Yeah,
and here's some interesting stats that I wanted to bring up here too. I mean, he amassed over 1,000 tackles, 15 sacks, 9 interceptions, 6 fumble recoveries. One of those fumble recoveries was against Buffalo this past year for that touchdown, and kept us back in that game. So you cannot discredit the fact that he was a playmaker, a leader, and he led that Vikings defense for eight or so years, and he was a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. And that was kind of like, we'll see how he does, and he surpassed all expectations.
He did.
There's just a lot. There's nothing but good things that I can say about Erickendricks. So thank you to Erickendricks.
Big time.
And who knows? Maybe we'll have him on the show. I think it's very possible, and I think we'd love to talk to him. And who knows? Maybe he ends up with Anthony Barr, his guy too. So, it's kind of weird seeing. I don't know if you saw it, but there was someone who took a photo of both Kendricks and Barr from like when they first started with the Minnesota Vikings. It's like, how was this that long ago? Like, it's crazy, and it's like, oh man, it's crazy how far they've come. Legends, yes, we are legends. I'd like to think so. Thank you.
Not to toot our own horn or anything, but
I appreciate that. But I'd say Erickendricks is a legend too. But it is what it is. Thank you, Eric. Hopefully, you go with the team and win a Super Bowl. But hopefully, the Vikings win one before that. But I don't.
Yeah,
that's a different thing.
Catch-22.
We'll see. But one other thing I just quick wanted to bring up before we get into Wild. Kjosborn.
Yeah.
Our guy, Kjosborn.
Having a heck of a week.
That I have gained so much more respect for him, and it's insane. Him saving that guy from the burning car and whatnot. I mean, just shows how great of a person he is.
Right.
It's awesome. He's a superhero. I mean, it's that cool. When I saw that, it really didn't surprise me because I was just like, yeah, KJ. I know KJ would do that, just knowing the type of person he is, and it's props out to him. So we give him some claps right here on MinneZona Sports Live. Voldy, what are your thoughts on Kjosborn there?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the report. I'm just like, was I surprised? Well, yes, obviously, given the situation. But was I surprised on his actions? No, not entirely. I mean, I feel like anybody in that certain situation would try to find a way to help in one way or another. But with him actually, helping the people out of the vehicle and that guy too, obviously, a huge amount of respect for Kjosborn, what he did as well. I mean, I wasn't overly surprised. I just found it interesting that Kjosborn was in that situation to begin with and was able enough to help out those people. And I'm sure those people are definitely eternally grateful for Kjosborn.
So, Kjosborn, we'd like to chat with you about it.
For sure.
Hopefully, we'd be the first show to talk with him about that and whatnot. And obviously, his Vikings career, he has been fantastic these past few years as a Vikings wide receiver. And this past year, too, especially leading the charge in that comeback. So, we love Kjosborn here. All right, let's move on to the Minnesota Wild. Right now, the Minnesota Wild are playing the Winnipeg Jets. They're up 1-0. Marcus Foligno with the goal. But, Voldy, since we were off last week, we didn't really get to this in time, but they made some deals, a lot of deals. And Billy G has been fleecing some NHL teams. I don't know if you saw that Reddit article that popped up not too long ago. But, he's been fleecing a lot of NHL teams. They get John Klingberg from the Anaheim Ducks. They go out and they get Oskar Sundqvist. Is that
just Oscar?
Just Oscar. All right.
Yeah. A lot of Swedes. A lot of
Swedes. Yeah. What are we? Yeah, we get a lot of Swedes. And then we all knew this was coming. Jordan Greenway traded for a 2023 second-round pick, 2024 fifth-round pick, and then Gustav Nyquist. I think I said that right.
Yeah, you did.
They get him. He's had an injury, but I think Billy G's adding some depth. So, and then the big one, Marcus Johansson back with the
just
Minnesota
random.
Wild.
Yeah, we just get him back random.
Yeah, well, hey, it's we got some depth here. So, Voldy, what do you think of the moves and zoners? What do you think?
I think these are some pretty solid moves. Obviously, the fact you get a lot of Swedes back on the team, there are a lot of Swedes to begin with the Wild too. But you get back Marcus Johansson as well. Obviously, he was with the team during the COVID era with his tenure with the Wild previously, but still very productive. A bit of an upgrade to say, much more about his ability, especially coming over from the Washington Capitals, where he was a second, third line guy, takes that place of Jordan Greenway, and him going, to the wayside, unfortunately for Greenway. I just wish we could have gotten more out of him with the last couple of years out of his tenure, too. Looking at the trade for Gustav Nyquist, this is definitely something going to have to go into next year because obviously he's hurt too right now. Could be back in time for playoffs if the Wild definitely make that push as well. So that's going to be another big help down the stretch for the Wild if they need a little bit more added scoring. Jordan Greenway going away for a couple of picks as well is going to be a big help, especially the Wild trading so many picks away in the future for these guys right now. Definitely need a little bit of that draft capital coming up. You get Oskar Sundqvist, definitely right now he's a guy you can plug right in the lineup in replacement of Jordan Greenway. I think Johansson can fit his way, maybe second line guy for the Wild currently too. And then obviously get much added depth on the blue line as well with John Klingberg as well that have faced up against the Wild a number of times over the last few seasons, and maybe give little Matt Dumba a little bit of added push there on that blue line too to give some reinforcements because you get past obviously with Brodeen, who's been battling through injuries. Obviously, you get Spurgeon, you get Dumba in the mix as well, who's been struggling as of late here this season. But, you need another couple of defensemen to help out, and John Klingberg's definitely a right step in the right direction. So there are definitely a lot of positives that came out of the trade deadline as opposed to the last couple of years where the Wild have done very little, if any, to, bolster their team the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and just an update, too. Actually, 2 updates on Minnesota Wild. So Goudreau scored just not too
Freddie
long
Hockey,
ago.
let's go.
But the Jets just scored. Logan Stanley on a wrist shot. Actually, it was a pretty good goal. Kept Fleury out of position. But still 2-1, so we're still doing just fine for now. But yeah, kind of going with this. This doesn't, again, another thing that doesn't surprise me. Billy G going out and trying to compete. And I said this to a couple of people that he wants. You look at this and say, okay, you want to rebuild, but this is a competitive rebuild. For goodness sake, they're 2 points out of first place in the division, not just not the conference, but the division. So Billy G goes out and gets guys, and he's literally running to his phone to make sure he gets deals done in time.
Athlete.
And you all saw that on the Twitter sphere. So Billy G getting it done and whatnot. So, I mean, it's got my stamp of approval. Let's just make sure that it pays off. And so far it has. It really has. And you add some depth, and let's just get past that first round, that dreaded first round with this team. So we shall see what happens. But right now, Wild up 2-1. We'll keep you posted and go from there. So, with that being said, we have some ARAs to get to. A lot happening in the NFL. A lot of franchise tags, a lot of deals getting done before free agency starts next week. So, we got that going on. The WBC, like Voldy said at the beginning of the show, checking in on that. And we also have some, I'm losing my mind here. Expansion. NHL more expansion talk. Mm-hmm. So we got a lot going for ARA tonight. Anyway, let's get it going with some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we're going to start with a couple common themes here. Our first few stories with A or A. We're talking about the NFL and quarterbacks. Obviously, the new NFL league season set to take place 1 week from today, actually, March 15th, I believe it is. But the deadline for NFL franchises to place their franchise tags on players as well was yesterday. And one surprising move, maybe not so surprising move, but could be spelling the beginning of the end, is the Baltimore Ravens using their franchise tag on quarterback lamarjackson as the move was initially made, of course, before the head of the deadline yesterday. And, of course, the talks have been the last season and a half of the contract situation with Lamar. Is he going to get his money? What's he going to do? What are the Ravens going to do? When's it going to happen? And, this could quite possibly spell the beginning of the end. We all know that Lamar's looking for that big-time Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Brown type money as well, guaranteed on the front. Guaranteed because of the fact that, he has put up much better numbers in the past number of seasons for the Baltimore Ravens compared to, a guy that's seen a lot more action off the field than actually on the field as well, whether willingly or not, allegedly, of course. But this is all boiling down to the simple fact as well. Is it absurd or approved? This, with the franchise tag now on Lamar Jackson, this will mark the beginning of the end with Lamar's tenure in Baltimore.
I just think it just shows they're not fully committed to him. And I don't see why you would be hesitant to do that. He has proven that he can hang with the best. Mm-hmm. He has beaten the good teams like Kansas, or I think they beat Kansas City recently.
Been competitive.
They've been competitive at least. Lamar's beaten Tom Brady at Baltimore when he was still with New England. He's been to the playoffs. They've won the playoff games with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson is electric. And the Ravens are like, is he though? I just don't understand why they're not fully committed. Who are you going to put back there?
Right.
If you trade him, like, what are you going to do? I mean, if you're John Harbaugh, I mean, I just don't understand why he's not committed to that. Their GMs, the front office there. But I think it is because Lamar's been wanting that deal, and they just seem so hesitant to give him that. But I was talking to none other than Austin Hanley, our guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I said, he goes, why aren't people throwing the bag at Lamar? And I'm like, oh, they will be. If I'm Atlanta right now, I am throwing everything I can. You have the cap space, might as well use it, right?
Exactly.
Try and get him, trade with Baltimore, put him on that Atlanta Falcons team with CP, Fear the Dreads.
Yep.
And they have a good young core offense. Kyle Pitts, I think, could have a little bit of resurgence here, hopefully. That makes so much sense if you look at Atlanta. But, yeah, I think it is. It's got my stamp of approval. The Ravens aren't committed to him. They don't think that for the long term he's going to be their guy, and it shows. And Lamar's, I think, through with it at this point. So I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink at trying to get Lamar, and I think Atlanta's going to try they're going to try like hell to get him on the Falcons. So, yeah, I don't, unless the Ravens are just like, maybe we'll get a deal done, who knows, but they put the franchise tag on it as the safe bet, and
right.
I hope that they know what they're doing because I think Lamar's just about through with them. So, stamp of approval. I think his time's done. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I could certainly see it being the beginning of the end. I know if Ozzie Newsome and Art Modell were still around, I think this deal would have been done definitely a season and a half ago before any conversations of a possible contract situation would have came up with Lamar Jackson. Like you brought up too, what has Baltimore else got? Like, yes, Tyler Huntley filled in for, a couple of games.
Somehow made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, somehow made the Pro Bowl without throwing 2 touchdowns in the season as a whole. And literally had almost a couple of different opportunities to even almost win that playoff game against Cincinnati. So there was some promise, but you put him next to Lamar Jackson, I would definitely take Lamar Jackson on one good leg. More times than not. And, obviously the health thing is another big concern. How is that leg doing because of the fact that it is still a questionable situation to why isn't he playing? But obviously he's thinking his long-term future over short-term success right now because he wants to be able to continue to play at a high level to ultimately give the Ravens what they deserve and obviously a Super Bowl. And he wants to bring that to Baltimore. At least that's been his intent since they drafted him. I feel like the longer this contract situation drags out, the less and less likely it's going to be. In Atlanta, they need a quarterback. That division is now fairly wide open ahead of one of our next stories coming up here as well, talking about the NFC South. AFC North, things a little bit tight. It's Cincy's division to lose as well, but if Lamar is fully healthy, certainly a highly contendable team that can definitely go up against Cincinnati. But right now, I definitely see this at the beginning of the end here for Lamar in Baltimore.
Here's what I'm going to if I were to tell the front office of the Baltimore Ravens, you're not trying to sign Daniel Jones here. I had to go that far with it because I mean, if we had an ARA for the Daniel Jones thing, I have some thoughts about that, but if you're Baltimore right now, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. So we'll see. All right, next one, Voldy.
Boy, talk about a snoozer of a season it was for the Washington Commanders, at least for one player, that being for quarterback Carson Wentz. He got the old heave-ho right out of D.C. with being released at the end of February as well. A move that does save the commies, $26 million in salary cap as well for Carson Wentz getting released from the team as well. But now this will make it now going into his third off season in a row where he's going to be looking for a new team. Obviously, last season, this current season, he was with Washington. Then he was with Indy, and then obviously got let go by the the Eagles, I should say. I was right in the right area. Now brings up another opportunity with Carson Wentz on the QB market once again for free agency, and going to be looking for a new home once again. So, with this being another opportunity for a team to take a look at what Carson Wentz brings to the table, is it absurd or approved? And I just had it right in front of me, and for some reason the tablet doesn't want to play nice right now. But I have my thought. I just need to get my thoughts back together here for a second.
I have it right here.
Technology, work it right here. And is it absurd or approved? Carson Wentz will rebound with his next NFL team, if there is going to be one that wants to pick up Carson Wentz.
That's a great question. When is the last... I'll say this. When are people going... Or when is Carson Wentz finally going to break through? And that was the question in Philadelphia after the injury. Right. Obviously, it didn't pan out the way they thought. You go to Indianapolis, and they pretty much give up on him after a year. And then you go to Washington, where they're like, all right, here's the team. He gets injured, and he starts like the last regular season game. In the game, if they win, they could go to the playoffs, and they end up not even making it. So I hate to say it, and I don't want to be that guy to be, because I do like the guy. I think Carson Wentz he's shown flashes of him being very good, but there are times where he folds. And unfortunately, that's just been the case. The injuries have been an issue. But I think if I'm Carson Wentz right now, I'd be looking up as a backup. And I don't think his career is over. Don't get me wrong. I don't think his career is over, but I also think that he's going to have to really kind of earn his place with whatever team. But I just don't see the rebound. I hate to say it, but I just don't see it. And it's proven with the stats, a lot of interceptions, crucial interceptions, I might add, too. Especially if you have Carson Wentz as your quarterback right now, you get nervous. And it's that simple. But I don't think he's going to rebound. I hate to say it. It's tough to say because I do like the guy. But it just really hasn't panned out, and I think people have got him figured out now. So it is what it is. Voldy, what do you think?
I could definitely see him winning a job somewhere else. It's just going to be if he's going to be coming into it being a presumed starter, or if he's going to have to win the job out of camp. I mean, Houston could use a quarterback. I know that the Raiders could use a quarterback as well as of late, and they've got young guys on the squad, but a lot more question marks. I don't think he's going to be going back to Indy anytime soon. We all saw how that all worked out for the likes of Carson Wentz, but yeah, I don't know if he's going to be getting the starting job. Definitely consideration as a backup. Bring him in fully healthy. The thing is, he's just got to be fully healthy, and he hasn't been fully healthy in about at least 4 seasons or so. And if anything, take the year. Don't try to go into camp, win a job. You don't get a job out of camp, you get released or whatever. Someone's going to need you at the midway point of the season. There's going to be a quarterback carousel. Someone's going to be in an emergency situation. Just get healthy. Maybe take a few months, just get healthy. See what happens come week 7, week 8 of the season, and somebody will come calling. Somebody always comes calling as well. And let's just hope for Carson Wentz that it's not a tough enough situation to where he's going to be on the outside looking in. Who knows? Maybe end up with a contender somewhere and they make a nice little run. But we'll see. I hear Miami could use a quarterback because they go through quarterbacks like crazy.
Yeah, well, with Tua and whatnot, who knows with that deal. But and also, I might add, the Wild are now up 3-1. I should have done a
Ryan Hartman.
So, hey, we're doing well there. But, yeah, it's hard for me to see it because I like Carson Wentz as a person. I think that he works hard, but I don't know. Things have changed. That's just how it's been going. So hopefully he bounces back. I really hope so. So, all right, from one quarterback to another, Voldy.
Former Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Derekcarr signed a 4-year deal to be now with the New Orleans Saints in a deal that could be worth up to $150 million and $100 million in guarantees. Now, this will come $60 million fully guaranteed with other incentives throughout the year as well. With him making it out of year 1 into year 2 into year 3, et cetera as well. But Derekcarr, maybe a career resurgence with the New Orleans Saints and the bevy of weapons that they do have. A defense that's been pretty sturdy a couple of years in a row now with some playmakers on both sides of the ball. Now with Derekcarr now solidifying the quarterback position for the New Orleans Saints. Is it absurd or approved? With Derekcarr on the New Orleans Saints, they will be the front runners to win the NFC South in 2023.
You know, when I was gearing up for this one, I thought, well, the Buccaneers, well, nope. I honestly think they might have it. And I hate to be that person to say it, especially with the stuff that goes on. But, again, no Sean Payton, no Drew Brees on that team. Completely different deal. Alvin Kamara, who knows what his deal is right now. Apparently he's in some big trouble still.
Yep.
But you have Slant Boy coming back. I mean, Michael Thomas coming back.
I completely forgot he was even still in the league. He didn't play at all this season, did he?
No, he did not. And
crazy.
Who knows what he'll be like when he comes back. We don't know. But if I were to be a betting man, I'd kind of look at them. I mean, their defense isn't bad. Cam Jordan's still playing at a high level, as much as I hate to say that, too. Marshawn Lattimore still, even though he gets cooked by JJ a lot. So there's that. But I got to say, I mean, Demario Davis, too. I mean, they've got a good defense. They have weapons on offense. But if you look at Tampa Bay's kind of fallen off. They won the division, but, I mean, they just barely. And the Cowboys pretty much dismantled them. And no Tom Brady, and I think they're kind of somewhat, unfortunately, in shambles. I mean, who's going to be their quarterback, for goodness sake? Blaine Gabbert? Like, who knows?
Who knows?
So I look at this and say, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval, as much as I hate to say it. But I think right now you look at them, they're more the complete team. Who knows? Carolina could be a dark horse. If the Falcons do get Lamar, maybe you kind of lean that way too. Who knows with Tampa Bay? But, I'd probably say if I were a betting man at this point right now, I'll say that the New Orleans Aints, still the Aints, but they probably win the NFC South. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I just don't see how the Saints cannot win the division this year as well. I mean, obviously Tampa Bay still got a bunch of weapons on both sides of the ball, but who's going to be the starting quarterback for them this coming season too? They've got a couple guys coming in. Obviously, they still have Blaine Gabbert. I think they still got Kyle Trask down there, who was the third guy on them. I think they had Josh Rosen for a while too. I don't know if he's still there or not on the practice squad, but that's a tough situation. New coaching staff, whole bunch of new guys. Sam Darnold still on Carolina, So we'll see what comes out of that. Then you've got, obviously, too, with New Orleans, not New Orleans, Atlanta and their situation, who's going to be their starter, who's going to be, if they do make a push for Lamar, we'll see about it. And, this is literally the Saints division to lose in my mind with Derekcarr. If we saw anything from the Pro Bowl games, I mean, he can still spit it. You give him a fresh new place, get him a place that has a pretty decent offensive line, too, with, New Orleans. They've always had a fairly decent offensive line in years that they were productive, too. Can protect him, allow him to get the ball out to some of those, up-and-coming receivers that they've got down there, too. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Michael Thomas. He comes back, and if Kamara is still eligible to play or not, maybe we'll have a new running back situation for the Saints. Defense, I really don't have a lot of concerns with the defense. I think it's just going to be, Cam Jordan obviously leading the charge as well. If they can get maybe some help on the back end with a couple of defensive backs, that'll be a big help for them. But I don't see how the Saints lose the division this year.
Yep, and just quick update, the Jets just scored. Nino Niederreiter, former Minnesota Wild guy.
Sara Tews' favorite.
Yeah, so 3-2. Still winning, second period. But, I don't think Derekcarr's off. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'd much rather have Kirk Cousins than Derekcarr, just my personal opinion. But I think that they have a little bit more of a guy that has consistency and has played mostly – he's been healthy, usually all the time with Derekcarr. Whereas you have Mr. Crab Legs sitting there getting hurt and throwing interceptions. No, I can't be mean to him. No, I'm just kidding. I just
we still can.
Cheap shot to him. But I don't know how long he's going to stay with the team, but we'll see. I think they'll win the division. It's got my stamp of approval. As much as it pains me to do it, but I agree with you. All right, next one, Voldy.
As we go now to switching from football to baseball, starting as of, early this morning, late last night, the World Baseball Classic officially underway with pool play opening up here this week. And defending champion Team USA has got a full field of competitors in multiple pools, multiple divisions that are set to play here in the 5th edition of the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, I will be supporting Team Canada. No reason why whatsoever. Just letting it happen as well. But it does bring up first WBC since 2017. Team USA is the defending champion as well. But you look at a lot of the stars pulling out all the stops, and a lot of players actually excited about the WBC this go round as more of being a sense of burden with it coming around. Do I play? Do I not? Do I stick with my ball club? 160 game to 162 game season coming up at the same time. That really seemed to be on the back burner for a lot of players and these super teams coming together. But boils down to one question. Who wins the WBC this year?
Well, I'll make it easy. USA! 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 I'll go with the USA baseball team. Now, there's always the Dominican Republic, which, again, they're stacked. Unfortunately, I didn't know this, but Vlad Guerrero Jr. Withdrew because of a knee injury.
Yeah, he was a late scratch. It kind of flared up on him in the last. I think it was like in the last week or so.
Okay, interesting. But you know who's on that team? Nelson Cruz, former Minnesota Twin,
general manager.
Yeah, and general manager, who still, mind you, should be on the Minnesota Twins, but again, those damn Polads. We'll get to that at a different time, but he's still
San Diego now. How crazy is that?
Yeah, he should be a Minnesota Twin still. Just saying.
Talk about a super team, San Diego. Holy crap.
Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, getting back to the task at hand. The reason why I got the U.S. I mean, you have Mookie, you have Pete Alonso, you have Schwarber, you have Tucker. I mean, they're stacked, man. And I think that they can outlast the Dominican Republic, and they're the defending champs. So I got to go with the USA, and yeah, I'm a little biased, but hey, I'll take the USA any day. But I also am scared about the the Dominican Republic. They're always tough.
Right.
Always tough. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a coin flip at this point. So I'll go with USA. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, this one is not as clear-cut as I thought. Obviously, Team USA is the defending champion. They have the most at stake, and they have a lot of really good players. I had a conversation about this earlier, and the one thing that I kept thinking about, yes, you've got all the star-studded players on the field, but who's it going to be the guy, or guys for that matter, to shut it down 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, even the 9th as well, reliever-wise? Because it's still early on in the season. A lot of these starting pitchers are just getting into the flow of things with, obviously with spring training and getting their arms up to speed, extending out for, long inning work as well, because, they've got a full baseball season ahead of them. It's great to be in the WBC, but let's talk about being back with your team and how you're going to make that money here for this coming season. So it's really these middle relief to late inning guys I really look at here when it comes to the baseball side of things, and I'm looking at the depth for Team USA. Team USA, Devin Williams, Ryan Presley, Jason Adam, Daniel Bard, who's come out of nowhere once again, and Adam Ottavino. You've got basically 4 or 5 closers right then and there. You line them up, should be able to get the job done as well. Adam Ottavino with that vicious frisbee of a ball he throws. Daniel Bard's had a career resurgence as well. We know the exploits of Ryan Presley and Devin Williams for the Brewers as of most recent, I think he was, but he might be with a different team. But a really good overall back end of the bullpen as well. They do have, obviously, with Team USA, Adam Wainwright, Brady Singer as well, Miles Mikolas, and that. But we already know that some of the top players in Major League Baseball are on Team USA. Of course, the Dominicans at the same time, they do bring in. I always make the comment that the Dominicans should have 2 teams. Because they've just got so many good players that you can't just have them all in one team and call it good from that point. They should really have 2 teams in that one. You could do it with multiple. You could do it with the Japanese. You could do it with the Cubans. You could do it with a whole bunch of other teams. But the Team USA and Dominican obviously are 1-2 in that one. Puerto Rico has been the runner-up the last 2 WBCs as well. They're no slouches at the same time. They do bring in a couple of interesting players as well. Starting rotation-wise, they do have Marcus Stroman, who pitched for Team USA, was the MVP of the last WBC for Team USA. He's on the Puerto Rican team this year. His mother's Puerto Rican as well. Jose Barrios as well in the starting rotation for the Puerto Ricans. They do have a really strong infield as well. Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz as well. They have Eddie Rosario, Kike Hernandez, and they throw in a couple of guys like Emilio Pagan and then Jorge Lopez as well, and even the other Diaz as well, Edwin and Alexis Diaz in that bullpen for the Puerto Ricans. Got to keep their eyes out on them. But I'm throwing a couple of dark horses at you at the same time.
Sure.
Watch out for the Venezuelans. Those guys do not mess around when it comes to the WBC. Obviously, it's going to be Miguel Cabrera leading the charge, but you do have Jose Altuve, Andres Jimenez, Luis Ariz, Gleyber Torres. You do throw in some experienced guys like Salvador Perez. You got Anthony Santander and Ronald Acuna Jr. As stacked of a team from an underrated team and group in country like Venezuela. You have starting rotation as well, even stacked. Martin Perez, Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo. You've got Erod, Eduardo Rodriguez, Luis Garcia, and Ranger Suarez as well. I mean, you can't sleep on these Venezuelan guys. But another team that probably won't get very far, but is always very fun to watch, the Netherlands. Netherlands are always a great team to watch as with the group that they always have. Didi Gregorius, Jonathan Scope, Andrelton Simmons, and of course Xander Bogaerts as well. Probably won't get very far off their bats alone, but this team always kind of sneaky when it comes to the WBC, so I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out with the Palacios brothers in the mix too with their group and, on the staff as well. You've got Hensley Mullins along with Bert Blyleven and Andrew Jones. That's the coaching staff for the Netherlands as well, but see how that pitching rotation comes up. But if I'm going to pick one team, I got Team USA to bring it back once again.
Hey, I can't complain with that. Let's go. When I saw Luis Ariz, I'm like, wait a minute. We got to watch out for Venezuela.
Watch out for those Venezuelans.
Yeah. Is Miggy playing
I'm pretty sure he is. I don't know why he wouldn't.
Good. Yeah. No, it's crazy. He's still around. I give him a lot of credit. So.
One last ride for him.
One last ride. Yeah. All right. Last one. Voldy.
Well, recent rumors and also some talks about expansion with the NHL because the last couple of years, everybody's been clamoring for when's the NHL going to go to 32 teams? Well, quite possibly be happening a lot sooner than later. Some talks and some cryptic tweets have been put out by some NHL insiders that quite possibly, of course, the most recent additions for the NHL include the Vegas Knights and obviously the Seattle Kraken, but may quite possibly be returning to old stomping grounds that have had some hockey history of their own. The 33rd and 34th NHL franchises could quite possibly include Houston and Atlanta. Now, previously it was the Atlanta franchise, the Atlanta Thrashers, now the Winnipeg Jets after they moved. I think it was 2010 when they returned to Winnipeg, of course, with Atlanta previously being, I think they were Quebec City. No, they were a different team, but nonetheless, I think, Atlanta moving their franchise up to Winnipeg in 2010. And then Houston has a long hockey history. They being part of the old WHA that allowed the likes of Gordie Howe to play into his 50s in his career as well. Then they were the AHL affiliate for the Minnesota Wild for a number of years before they moved up to Iowa, up in Des Moines, became the Iowa Wild. And quite possibly with some cryptic tweaks being sent out, Kevin Weeks says mum's the word on the possibility of these new franchises coming to be, and quite possibly being into the return of hockey in the Deep South. Now, is it absurd or approved there, DJ Matty C? Again, had the information right in front of me. I don't know why technology is betraying me, but is it absurd or approved? NHL will expand to Houston and Atlanta by the end of this current decade.
Yes. The reason why I say yes is because we all want to see the Thrashers back, right? Mm-hmm. We do? Okay. I couldn't remember if it was like, no, yeah. But good. I kind of want to see them back. Houston, I mean, is there much of a hockey town there with Texas? I don't know. But, I think it's going to get done. I think, again, the more dough you make, it's going to be better for the NHL, better for more money in Bettman's pocket / owner's pockets, too. Mm-hmm. So, I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. I think it's going to get done. But it depends on venues, things like that. It seems like they're teasing it. So, hey, it's more and more looking like it's going to happen. Hopefully, if it's with Atlanta, you stay with the Thrashers. So, that's just kind of my thoughts. Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, hockey in the South has always been very questionable, too, but I know since the Thrashers left Atlanta, too, there's been a little bit of clamoring. I know that they have an ECHL team in the Atlanta area, the Atlanta Gladiators, I think their team is. They've drawn pretty good crowds in the last few years, and I know since they left in 2010 that, they've been slowly but surely trying to keep things alive and at least try to regain that interest, and I think with things on the rise in Atlanta too, they're looking to, get back into the swing of things because there have been some huge players that have come into this league that have come by way of Atlanta. Ilya Kovalchuk, the Heater, Danny Heatley as well, and many other guys as well. Rochester, Minnesota native Mark Stewart played there. Dustin Byfuglien played there as well towards the end of his before they were a part of that team that went back up to Winnipeg. And as for Houston, they're in a similar situation. There was hockey for a long time down there. Hockey history, maybe beyond the Gordie Howe and then the Houston Aeros that they had with the minor league affiliate with the Wild too. Certainly maybe not as prominent as it used to be, but if there's interest, I could definitely see that being a good possibility. I know that having some influence down there with the Rockets and obviously the Texans as well will certainly be to their benefit. But could it be by the end of the decade? Will they start playing by the end of the decade? We'll see. see. But I definitely see at least those franchises being granted by the end of the current running decade. It's got my stamp of approval.
Yep, we'll see. I think it's quite possible, and I think, well, no, not possible, quite probable. We'll go with that. So, anyway, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as usual. And, yeah, time for some Shield shoutouts. We got some cool Shield shoutouts coming your way here tonight. And, yeah, then we'll wrap things up. So, let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, it's been no secret that our time here from Woods and Shore Studios is going to be coming to an end here before the spring fully comes through as well. End of the month, we're actually going to be moving elsewhere, but I do want to give a big Shield shout out to, of course, the great folks here in Aiken, especially with the high school sporting programs as well, that were very kind. If you haven't seen on social media, be sure to check it out as well. A nice little kind of parting gift during senior night with the girls basketball team, imparted me with some lovely gifts as a thank you for my work over the last few years. And it's, personally, it's never been about myself. It's always been about the kids, and it's really awesome to receive that appreciation from the work over these last few years. And it was a nice little gesture, so I say thank you to everybody for even the kind words and just the the gratitude over these last couple of years, and obviously the last few weeks been a lot more than I was expecting. So a big thank you to all the great folks from the Aiken Gobbler High School sporting programs, and a happy retirement to now former Kansas City Royals outfielder Lorenzo Cain. He said he is set to retire as a member of the Royals. He will retire as a two-time All-Star, ALCS MVP, and even a World Series champion when he won with the Kansas City Royals in 2015, I think that was. And also learning earlier today, too, that Boston Red Sox World Series champion first baseman Mitch Moreland is set to announce his retirement as well. Big part of that Red Sox team that won the World Series in 2018. And a few hours ago at the same time, Syracuse men's basketball coach Jim Boeheim is going to be hanging him up and stepping down as head coach for the Orange. 47 seasons as head coach at Syracuse for Jim Boeheim. I mean, you cannot think Syracuse basketball without thinking Jim Boeheim from the bench as well, as he'll be stepping down as head coach for the Orange. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. When I saw that when I came back from work, I was like, oh my gosh, Boeheim finally, or no, I don't want to say finally, but I mean, it's crazy how long he's been with the Orange. Won that 2003 national championship, Carmelo Anthony, Hakeem Warwick. That was a team, man. They were really, really good.
Yeah,
he's been a great, fantastic coach for the Orange for a long time. So
I would be remiss to say, as I have been receiving some less than positive looks here off camera from creative consultant Mrs. Sara Ann Tews-Vold, that I may have dropped the ball on a couple Shield shout-outs here. I do have to wish a couple of early birthdays. As of tomorrow, Case Paul James Vold, our son, is going to be 2 years old tomorrow. And then also Saturday is going to be Mrs. Sara Ann Tews-Vold's birthday as well. So it's a little bit of a busy week around the household. So creative consultant Mrs. Sara Ann Tews-Vold is celebrating birthday on Saturday. Case Paul James Vold will be celebrating a birthday as well. He'll be turning 2 on Thursday. Now it's officially done with Shield shoutouts this week.
I'm glad she reminded you, because
I'm just surprised she didn't throw something at me.
Yeah, you would have been sleeping on the couch.
Yes.
I think that's what probably would happen.
I mean, I did give her her birthday presents early, so...
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll let you guys hash that out.
Yes.
But great job with Shield shoutouts, Voldy. And, again, I saw the social media post with the Aiken girls and whatnot giving you that gift. That's really cool. And whatnot, and you definitely deserve it. And
well, thank you.
It's really cool, and I'm sure they definitely appreciated you calling those games
Definitely.
and whatnot. And they call you Shield down over there or no?
It's been brought up a couple times.
Oh,
Yeah, there's some younger guys that I played town ball with. They've called me Shield a few times. So.
Oh, there you go. It's still alive and well. Not just on the show here, but SMSU and whatnot. We did send we gave a shout out to Skip, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
We did. That's right. For some reason, I thought we forgot that, but nope.
It was a long time ago. That's when it happened.
Yeah, but congrats to him too. So I'll go with that. But great job, Shield. Shoutouts, and without further ado, Evoldi, we've been giving away some nice stickers as of late. And if you want to buy some, we've got some. $2 for the small ones, $3 for the big ones. Shout out to Aaron Madsen. He got his stickers as well as Max Bravo. So thank you to Shield for sending that to them. And there's a lot more. We got more. There might be some more on the way. Just keep an eye out. So we got a lot going on there. We also have hats, $20, $5 shipping, as well as the shirts. We still got the shirts here, people, that are, there's the hat. And we still have the shirts, 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars, as we usually say. Can't say nothing but good things. I believe Troy Stoudemire, I thought, was wearing his shirt the other day. I wish I had screenshotted that. Shoot. But I'll have to check with him. Make sure you check out the merch. Also, check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com, which I hope he replies on that Wolves take that we posted on the Twitter sphere. But Munson got back to us, so we got that.
Shocking.
So, shocking. And thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. Make sure you check out the Victorious POD, Jack Vickers, as well. So they're going to be doing some fancy stuff in the off season, so that's cool. Check it out. That's going to do it for episode 141 of MinneZona. It was great having Jason on, so shout out to Jason for coming on the show. You get to hold that title now for a whole year. So I hope that it was worth it, my cousin. But at the same time, I got it too. So I mean, I really can't complain. I can't really, be all up in arms and whatnot because I've won it. So I mean, it happens, but not as much as Glancy. That's we'll kind of leave it at that. Anyway, that'll do it for episode 141. And remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.